What's up, fam? Let's wait for everybody to come in. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're going to be talking about the new moon in Capricorn today. I'm just waiting for people to come in on Instagram, and this is being recorded so it can be posted to YouTube. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's wait for some folks to come in. I'm just going to wave at everybody as they come in. Happy new moon. We're going to be talking about the new moon in Capricorn today. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? How's life been? I'm gonna wave at people as they're coming in on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Excited to tap in with you guys and share some insights on the astrology of this new moon in Capricorn that we're having today. Who's been feeling the new moon energy? Who's been feeling it? I know I have. My dreams. Well, I have a moon in Capricorn, and this new moon is happening like right next to my natal moon. So I had some really interesting dreams last night. Our dreams can be popping, and spirit can be talking to us in our dreams right now because of Saturn and Neptune right next to each other. And also, if you're just feeling a little like tired, exhausted, a little wishy-washy, like your head's in the clouds, you're feeling effervescent, you're feeling spiritual, you're feeling, detached from reality in some type of way. Well, that's because we are in the collective fog of Saturn and Neptune about to leave Pisces. So Saturn and Neptune are wrapping up their transit in Pisces. Neptune's been in Pisces for 14 years. Saturn's been in Pisces for the last 2.5 years. And this Piscean fog, this Piscean cloud that we've been in, is about to lift very soon with Saturn and Neptune going into Aries. But this new moon in Capricorn is pulling energy from Saturn in Pisces, right? Capricorn is ruled by planet Saturn. And when we start to understand astrology and how dispositorship works, um, whatever lunar event we have, or even whenever a planet is transiting a sign, whatever sign that planet is in, it's pulling energy from the planet that rules that sign. So we have this whole Capricorn stellium in the sky. We have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, all in Capricorn right now at this very moment. Venus just went into the sign of Aquarius today, from yesterday to today. Today is January 18th, 2026. We're starting this around 5 p.m. Pacific time. And they're all pulling energy from Saturn in Pisces. Okay. So if you've been feeling that confusion and that fog, you've been feeling like you're just a leaf blowing in the wind, well, welcome to the party. A lot of people have been feeling that way because of the Piscean energy of Saturn and Neptune coming into conjunction. So really excited to tap in today. So we got this new moon in Capricorn. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about a new moon in Capricorn that's happening at 28 degrees. 28 degrees is a Cancer degree. So if you're feeling a little emotional or sensitive for this new moon, do not be surprised. It's because we have the moon and the sun together at 28 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. Another big feature of this new moon is Mercury and Mars together in Capricorn as well. So we have Mercury at 26 Capricorn, we have Mars at 26 Capricorn, and they're in a conjunction right now. Hey, my love, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Everybody that's coming in, thank you for being here. I know we're doing this a little bit later than usual. Usually I do these in the morning, but I had like a weird stomach thing yesterday, and today I was busy with readings, and so this was the time that I could make for it. So here we are. A little bit different, but Capricorn and Saturn does rule the nighttime. So I feel like doing a new moon in Capricorn during evening time when it's dark outside, it's on brand. It's on par with the energy of Saturn and Capricorn. So the sun rules the day and Saturn rules the night. Okay. So yeah, that's why we're doing it around this time. Okay. But yeah, so new moon in Capricorn. We have Mercury, Mars together in the sky for this new moon. So Mercury is a planet of information, communication. Mercury rules over our jobs, our habits, our day-to-day routine. Mercury is also connected to health. And Mars is the planet of war and of passion and of desire and of assertiveness and of friction and, kind of like standing up for yourself. Mars is also one of the planets of individuality on top of the sun. So with Mercury Mars together, we've been feeling very inspired and very motivated, or we're going to be during this new moon cycle to kind of get going with our plans, to be a little bit more structured and disciplined. Um, Kayla said that she's been cleaning and purging her house all weekend. Well, that is Mercury Mars together in Capricorn, I do believe, because of this energy of needing to get things structured, needing to get things organized, right? Also, because Saturn's at the last degrees of Pisces and we have this late degree new moon in Capricorn, there's this energy of needing to clear things out and release things. Like this is like the big final purge. This new moon's a part of it, but this is like the big final purge before Saturn goes into Aries and we all start a collective new 28.5, 29-year cycle with Saturn, right? Saturn going into Aries, it begins his new cycle. He's going to start going around the zodiac, right? So with Saturn leaving Pisces and this new moon in Capricorn at the last degrees of Capricorn and Saturn about to exit Pisces and go into Aries next month, we are wrapping shit up with these new moons, okay? With this particular new moon, but the full moon in Cancer that we had 2 weeks ago, the new moon in Capricorn that we have today, we're like wrapping things up, cleaning things up. We're having to get rid of stuff. We're having to clear stuff out so that we can welcome in the energy of the new beginning and of the new start and of the fresh new thing coming, which is really, we're going to feel that around Aries season, but we're also going to feel it, collectively. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be coming out of the eclipses that are going to be in February and March. So we are entering eclipse season pretty soon. And coming out of eclipse season, going into April, that's when we're really going to feel this like fresh new start because Saturn has firmly entered a new sign. And that's also, Aries season is the sun going back into Aries. That's going to be the sun and Saturn going into Aries together is going to be this kind of like renewal and this like beginning and this like fresh start and stuff like this. Okay. But for now, let's talk about this new moon in Capricorn today, okay? So it's at 28 degrees Cap. So we have Mercury, Mars together in Capricorn, right next to the sun and the moon. And they are all, so sun, moon, Mercury, Mars in Capricorn, Mercury, Mars 26, sun, moon at 28. They are forming a beautiful trine with Uranus in Taurus, okay? If you put Capricorn on the rising, this puts Uranus and Taurus in the fifth house from putting Capricorn and the new moon on the rising. And so, even though this new moon, Capricorn is a sign of commitment. It's a sign of long-term contracts, long-term investments. It's a sign of our goals, our dreams, our ambitions. It's also the sign of structure and discipline and like self-control. It's also the sign of the energy of no, of rejection. So that's one of the things that we need to remember about Saturn. Saturn gives us the audacity to tell people no, to hold up boundaries, to reject things. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't want. This is what I don't need, right? So if you're like whatever you are feeling repelled by or whatever you are repelling during this new moon cycle, whatever's repelling you, this energy of like rejection in the air, okay? Take heed and take notice because that's telling you that's this new moon and Saturn telling you, wait a minute, maybe this thing isn't for you. Maybe this relationship isn't for you. Maybe this job isn't for you. Maybe this person isn't for you. Maybe this career path isn't for you. Whenever we are experiencing rejection by something, or if we're getting this energy of repulsion with it, we're like, ugh, ick, I want to push it away. We want to kind of like, negate it in some way, or we're being negated. That's usually because that thing is not for us, okay? And I really want you guys to listen to this because this new moon may make you realize that you've been investing in something energetically that is not really giving back to you, pouring into you, or maybe you've been investing in it over a long period of time and now you're feeling this energy of, I don't really want this for myself anymore. And you're feeling this energy of repulsion or rejection with that thing. And you need to listen to that. You need to feel into that, okay? Because this new moon is trying to get us going in a new path. This new moon is trying to get us aligned with the right relationship, with the right career path, with the right goals and dreams, with the right friendships. But we have to welcome this energy. And it's going to be hard and difficult because, one of the things about Capricorn, Capricorn is in it for the long haul. Okay. And Capricorn is in it. They're going to struggle and they're going to try to fix it. They're going to try to make it through. And they like Capricorn is really one of these signs that will like go back to something that is not really good for them because of attachment. Okay. Capricorn is a very much an emotionally attached sign. It is. Don't let them fool you. They may tell you, oh, I don't care. It doesn't mean much to me. But then when they go home, they're crying about it and they feel sad about it and they miss you and they want you. Okay. And this is coming from a Capricorn moon. I have a Capricorn moon. Why is this? It's because opposite the sign of Capricorn, okay, is Cancer. Is a sign of Cancer. So the truth about it is that Capricorn is actually a lot more sensitive than we think, okay? And they care a lot more than we think, all right? And so once we start to uncover the truth about Capricorn, Capricorn really wants to invest long term into a relationship, into a partnership, into a career, even into a job. So one of the things you'll see with Capricorn people and with Saturn people, people that have Saturn aspects, Saturn Venus, Saturn on the sun, Saturn on the moon, or a lot of Aquarius, Capricorn, well, specifically Capricorn, not so much Aquarius, but specifically Capricorn, is that when it's time to move away from something or let something go, they really have a hard time detaching. And they really have a hard time kind of like moving past that thing and letting that thing go. And so with this new moon in Capricorn, with Mercury, Mars together for this new moon, Mercury, Mars, Sun, Moon all together, and the fact that this new moon in Capricorn is trining Uranus and Taurus, there's this energy of liberation and freedom. There's this energy of wanting to emancipate ourselves, wanting to choose ourselves, wanting to become a little bit more independent and autonomous in our life with the things that we are engaged with, right? And if there's any kind of like these karmic burdens, these karmic struggles, if you're like stuck in codependent situations, if you're stuck in codependent relationship with your parents or with a lover or with your kids or something like this, what's going to happen is this new moon in Capricorn is going to invite you to put up some boundaries and to have some difficult, hard conversations that can be about rejection. It could be about, oh, no, I can't do this for you anymore. Can't support you in this way. I can't help you out in this way because maybe you're the agent that the universe has chosen you to help someone move towards their own independence and autonomy by taking away a codependent support system, which possibly that could be you. Okay, you could be the one that is like, the codependent party here that's, you know, a, keeping someone in a state of disempowerment, right? Think about this. I want you guys to think about this. This is like a download I have coming through, but a lot of times when we are playing into other people's codependency, right? We are actually an agent of codependence. And we feel so bad and so guilty because we want to help them, we want to support them. And sometimes it's our kids, sometimes it's our spouse, sometimes it's people that we love, and we don't want to see them suffer, we don't want to see them struggle, we don't want to see them go through what they go through. And so we want to help, we want to support, we want to provide, right? But many times, what we're actually doing is we're disabling them. We're disempowering them. We're preventing them from evolving because the universe and spirit in their life is telling them it's time for them to struggle. It's time for them to grow up. It's time for them to mature. It's time for them to be autonomous. It's time for them to be independent. So the universe is trying to put them through these lessons and put them through these tests and put them through these challenges, but we're intervening. We're not allowing them to learn and grow, right? Capricorn is a sign of maturity. Capricorn is a sign of maturity. And a lot of times, maturity is about personal responsibility and personal accountability. This is why we don't like to talk about Capricorn things. We don't like Capricorn doesn't get a good rap because Capricorn energy and Saturn energy is all about responsibility and obligation and commitment and contracts, right? And these things that we want to shy away from because why? They're hard, they're difficult. Being personally accountable for yourself, being responsible, being autonomous, these are things that are difficult. They're hard. They take time to figure out, right? But in that same token, Many times when the universe or spirit, the divine, is trying to teach someone and help someone develop these things, family members, friends, spouses, siblings, whatever, will intervene with someone's development, will intervene with someone's karmic struggle that is meant to actually refine them and test them and grow them as a person. So with this new moon in Capricorn, there may be lessons that some of us have to learn. Okay, there may be some experiences that we have, especially in the realm of relationships, where it's like we got to tell that person, you know what, I can't help you anymore. I can't support you in that way. You got to figure that out by yourself. It's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to mature. It's time for you to be independent. It's time for you to be more autonomous. So you can't rely on me. You can't depend on me. And sometimes this even looks like letting people make their own decisions and letting people fail when it comes to their decision making and their choices, letting them struggle and suffer because that's the way that they're going to learn, right? So it's really interesting because, Capricorn and Cancer, this is the axis of family. This is the access of our ancestry, right? This is the access of, the karmic responsibility, our karmic responsibility or obligation to our family as well, right? And those of you with Capricorn Cancer placements, you should know this already, right? You should, if you have Capricorn Cancer placements in your chart, there's something very special about your relationship with your family, and you feel very karmically bound to them in some type of way. You feel very karmically committed to them. You care about them, you love them, you want them to be a part of your life, right? Whether you like it or not, you just feel this compulsive calling to like show up for family and be present for family, right? And to help them, right? But I think this new moon in Capricorn is also inviting us to kind of heal some of this karmic struggle or some of this karmic burden when it comes to our lineage, when it comes to our ancestral lineage, so that we can like move it in a new direction. And this is one of the things that I talk about when I give people personal readings is, we all karmically have certain narratives that run in our family history. And we need to be able to identify those, the karmic struggles that run in our ancestry, okay? Because if we can identify it, we can heal it, and we can like choose to do different. And it looks different for everybody, right? So sometimes it's poverty consciousness that runs in the family. Sometimes it's toxic, abusive relationships that run in the family. Sometimes it's the energy of deception and lies and conning and being dishonest with others and taking advantage of others, right? Sometimes it's the karmic energy of unhealthy people that literally do not take care of themselves, right? They have no self-care. They eat horribly, they drink, they party, they do this, and they don't really care for their body, right? So this is how you end up with Virgo placements and six house placements, okay? So it's like everyone has their own karmic narrative, their own karmic struggle that the family experiences that runs in the family that they're here to do differently, right? You're here to correct that. You're here to shift the family karma, heal the ancestral lineage by doing it different, by not making the same karmic mistakes that your family made, right? And this new moon in Capricorn is giving us this opportunity to really pivot in the way our ancestry is like has developed and where we want to go, right? We're the pivot point. We're the transformation point. We're the healing point when it comes to our ancestral struggles, our ancestor struggles, right? And this new moon really wants us to do something different. And sometimes this is even about like, detaching from this idea. And I'm just looking at the South Node in Virgo right now. And I'm detaching from this idea that, oh, we got to work hard and we got to struggle and we got to have jobs in order to be successful, right? This is actually something that's been coming up for a lot of people in my readings. Releasing ourselves from this idea or this consciousness of, I got to work for others, I got to serve others, I got to have a job, I got to work really hard or struggle to be abundant or to be successful. That's not true. That's not true. And many of us with Earth placements, especially Capricorn Virgo placements, were raised with this idea that abundance comes from hard work and struggle and sacrifice. And sometimes you got to do things that you don't enjoy. And sometimes you got to do a job that depresses you and that makes you sad. For you, no, actually, no, no. You don't need a job. You don't got to do work that is unhappy or unfulfilling. You don't got to give 12 hours of your life every day to a job. You don't actually have to do that thing. You don't. But many of us are raised with this consciousness and this belief that we do have to do those things. So now, right, you want to start your own business. You want to be an entrepreneur. You only want to work 3 days a week, 6 hours a day, 3 days a week, right? But you feel guilty about it. You feel conflicted about it. You feel like, oh my God, that's not right. That's incorrect, right? Because you weren't raised to believe that way, because that's not what you were taught. You were taught, right? You were taught to believe that in order for you to be abundant, you got to work hard, you got to struggle, you got to suffer, you got to be sad. That's not the truth. So I think it's really important with this new moon in Capricorn that we take a look at some of the belief systems, some of the philosophies, some of like the consciousness, the consciousness that runs in the family, like these ideas that get perpetuated in our ancestral lineage, because they can be holding us back in different ways. They can be holding us back in different ways. Let's say, okay, this is another example. Another example. Let's say you grew up with a mother that hated men. Okay. Oh, she couldn't stand her dad. Oh, she couldn't stand her father. Oh, she can't stand her boss. Oh, she just hates men. And she's been single ever since you were born. She's been single. Your mom has never dated him. She don't want nothing to do with men. She don't even have no male friends. Okay, right? So you grow up with this consciousness, this idea that men are not trustworthy, men are evil, men are good for nothing, right? And you grow up with this idea that you got to be a strong, independent woman. Your mom's always told you got to be strong and independent. You don't want to rely on no man. You don't want to rely on no man, right? So then you get into your late 20s, early 30s, and now you want to find love. Now you want to find a partner. Now you want to get married and have a husband and do all those things. But you feel a little conflicted because you grew up being so strong and so independent and with this idea that your mom kind of imprinted on you that men are not good. Men are evil. Men are X, Y, and Z, whatever, whatever. So you're going to have to reconcile this belief system that you grew up with and this like philosophy that you grew up with, right? And also that could possibly be influencing your identity as like a strong, independent woman and this desire that you have to actually be in partnership with a man and to like fall in love and to get married and to like have a baby, right? Many times what happens is there is no reconciliation with those two things. And the philosophy and the idea of men are evil or men are not worthy or men are whatever, whatever, okay, is so much stronger because that's what you grew up with. And it's not, and it's so ingrained in you that you actually end up sabotaging relationships and partnerships. You push all the men away. You pushed your own father away. You never had a close relationship with your dad. You never dated men, or even when you did, it was very short term and short lived because, they're always a threat to your independence and a threat to your power, right? At some point, you're going to have to release this idea and this consciousness and this belief that all men are either evil or that men are not worthy or that all men are bad or whatever so that you can be in union and in partnership with the man. You see what I'm saying? This shows up in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways. And you got to be able to identify it. Because a lot of times, a lot of this programming, a lot of this philosophy, this way of seeing life and whatever, you don't even realize how it's influencing you. You don't even realize how it's influencing your relationship with others. You don't even realizing how it's influencing your career life, your work life. You don't even realize how it's actually, influencing you in possibly a negative way. It's limiting you in some type of way. So with that being said, this new moon in Capricorn is kind of giving us this possibility, this potential to kind of free ourselves from some of these outdated, karmic ancestral philosophies that haunt us, that hold us back from our joy, from our passions, from our desires, from our autonomy, from our independence, whatever that may be. And you got to be able to look at that. You got to be able to identify it for yourself. You see what I'm saying? Because if you can't name it, if you can't see it, you're not going to be able to heal it or change it or transmute it. Okay? Very, very important. Okay, so the reason why I'm talking about this is because we have the sun and the moon trine Uranus and Taurus. Taurus is the sign of our values, and But it's interesting because, Taurus and Capricorn, these are very traditional signs. These are signs that don't like a lot of change. But we have a new moon trine Uranus, which is inviting change, inviting liberation, inviting us to be open to something new and something different. The other really interesting thing about this new moon is that the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, the stellium in Capricorn, is also sextiling Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, who are about to go into Aries. So we have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Capricorn. Mercury, Mars are together at 26. Sun, Moon are at 28 degrees Capricorn, and then they're in this trine with Uranus at 27. And but both of these, Uranus and the Capricorn, they're both sextiling. Okay, 60-degree relationship. Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and Saturn and Neptune are about to what? Enter a new sign. These are this trine sextile energy. This kind of tells us that there's something new coming in. But before we start this new chapter, before we start this new life, before we enter this new timeline, there's things that we got to clear up or wrap up. And it's a little confusing. I will tell you, when Saturn and Uranus are being aspected by a new moon, it's contradictory energy. And why is this? It's because Uranus wants space, wants freedom, wants to do something unique, wants to do something different. Uranus wants to break free, right? Uranus doesn't want to be told what to do. Uranus wants to stand out. Where Saturn wants to assimilate. Saturn wants to fit in. Saturn also wants to create stability and security and safety. And a lot of times that looks like commitment. That looks like long-term investment in things. That looks like a contract, right? Like when we get married, that gives us the security in our relationship, right? And that's why Saturn's exalted in Libra, because marriage is supposed to give us this sense of safety and security because why we're bound to them. We have a contract, right? That's what Saturn is all about. So when we have Saturn in Pisces aspect in the new moon, but when we also have Uranus in Taurus aspect in the new moon, and then Saturn and Uranus are talking to each other, we're kind of feeling pulled in different directions with this new moon. One part of the new moon is asking us, the new moon trine Uranus is asking us to be like, oh yeah, let's free ourselves. Let's be independent. Let's do something different. Let's do something unique. Like, let's go in a radical new direction, right? Where Saturn is like, wait a minute, right? Is the floor safe? Do you have are you packed and ready to go for your travels? Like, do you have everything that you need? Like, Saturn wants us to create like commitment and safety and like longevity and things like this, but then Uranus is like, wait a minute, can you like do the independent free liberational thing, right? And many of us may be feeling caught in between, like in a stage in our life right now where we're feeling like, wait a minute, I want to commit to something, but I'm not really sure about that long-term investment or that long-term commitment yet because I don't know if I want to be karmically bound by that thing. Okay. And if you are feeling that way, if you're feeling very hesitant about some kind of long-term commitment, and this could be like, oh, you want to buy a house, but you're not sure about it, you're thinking about engagement or marriage with this person, but you're not really sure about it. Oh, you want to make a big career change, but you're not sure about it. You want to leave a job and you want to start something new, but you're not really sure about it. Just wait. Okay, just wait. Give yourself some time, give yourself some grace. There's no need to go ahead and make some radical change and throw yourself into chaos. Let me tell you, that's one of the most stressful things to do. A lot of times when we want to make change, we will do it in a way that is like unplanned or unstructured, and that's unsafe. Not all change needs to look like this. There can be change that's planned. You can commit to change that where there's like a plan and there's a little bit of structure, there's like a little bit of safety net. That is possible. But sometimes we're just in a moment, we want that radical shift, that radical change. So we throw ourselves into a moment of chaos and I'm just leaving my job and you don't have a plan of like, next steps and stuff like that. And that can really be very stressful and very anxiety provoking, right? Where let's say you do want to transition with work and jobs and career, whatever, get that thing going first. Get the new job first, get the business started first, like start that side hustle, whatever, before you exit and leave the other job. So you give yourself a smoother transition and so that there's not so much anxiety or stress or even you're not, creating a tower moment for yourself. You see? But maybe you do need that tower moment. The new moon trying your maybe you do need to just be like, fuck it. I'm out of this bitch and just like, and just go, right? Maybe you do need that. Maybe the new moon trine Uranus is calling you to that, right? And if you do need that, gift yourself that too, okay? But it's interesting because there's this energy, this push and pull happening between Uranus and Saturn, but they're working together. This is the new moon trining Uranus, the new moon and Uranus both in this beautiful sextile to Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. Saturn about to enter a new sign. This kind of tells us like, yeah, there is going to be we're starting, yeah, we're starting new jobs, we're starting a new career path where we're making money in new different ways, right? Like, and Capricorn is a sign of career and stuff, but what's interesting is Virgo is a sign of jobs, and that's where the south node has been going through. Oh, you have a new job coming, congratulations. A lot of people are going to be having new jobs or starting a new job during this new moon cycle, or they're going to be making a big career change in the next 3 months. A lot of people, or they're all like in we're like a lot of people are in transition when it comes to work and career, whether they like it or not. Whether they like it or not. Some people are being forced to change their career because a job has been taken away from them, or a job that something that they've worked, something that they've been doing a long time. Guess what? It's no longer viable. AI is taking over, the robots are coming, right? And the jobs are like leaving or exiting. Because why? The South Node is in Virgo. The South Node has been in Virgo. And even if we put the new moon, right, on the rising, we have the South Node in the ninth house. And that gives us Mercury or that gives us, so Capricorn, if you put Capricorn in the rising, in the sixth house, you get the sign of Gemini. You get Mercury. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And what do we have? Mercury, Mars together in the sky for this new moon. So yeah, and it's also trining Uranus. So this tells me that there's a lot of new beginnings or new fresh starts with work and jobs, and a lot of people during this new moon cycle deciding that they want to go in a new career direction. Another thing that we're going to see with the new moon, so I'm just going to kind of go into like themes, like kind of like general themes that we're going to see for the new moon, is people getting married or getting committed, or people getting engaged. That's going to be a big theme, and this is because the new moon is opposite a seventh house Jupiter. We're also going to be seeing people like moving long distances and committing to buying a house or buying a home very far, like in another state, in another city, or something like this. Another download I'm getting is around remodeling or updating houses. So if you're someone and you're like, hey, me and my spouse, I've been thinking about, I want to rent this place out or I want to sell it, but I gotta like I gotta redo the roof, I gotta update the bathrooms and the kitchen and all that. Lean in, okay? Go ahead and invest and do those things because that's what this energy is like calling us towards, okay? Um, what I will say though, looking at the new moon, what I will say though, when it comes to relationships and partnerships, and I'm glad you brought it up because Paula actually brought it up. I'm just about to talk about relationships with Venus in Aquarius and Venus going over Pluto. So, what's going to be happening this upcoming week, and I'll talk about it tomorrow on Monday with the weekend forecast. Tomorrow is Monday, right? Is today Sunday? Yeah, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow with the weekend forecast. What we're going to have happen is this week and next week, this upcoming week and next week, as we get into like the first few weeks of Aquarius season, all these planets are going to go through Pluto. So Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars are all going to go through Pluto, and Venus. Venus is right next to Pluto, but Venus is going to go through Pluto in a few days. And there's going to be this big purge that happens. The purging of the planets is what I call it. When all the planets go through Pluto, they have to enter the gate of Hades. They go through like they go through like a purge, like a transformation. Like they go through like a detox. I like that word better. Okay, I like the word detox. They go through a detoxification. I always think of detoxing when I think of Pluto. And we're going to start to see deep levels of transformation and change with people when it comes to the given planet going through Pluto. So, the first planet that's going through Pluto this upcoming week and who's right next to Pluto for this new moon is Venus. Venus, the planet of love and relationships, is going to be meeting up with Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth and like transformation and excavation. Okay. And Venus also has a lot to do with legal affairs, and she has a lot to do with money and resources, and she has a lot to do with food and, our material foundation, our savings, our bank account. These are all things connected to Venus. So with Venus going through Pluto, and Venus right next to Pluto for this new moon, it's kind of telling me that there's going to be a microscope being put on a lot of our relationships and our social connections, especially our friendships and the groups of friends that we are a part of. Okay. And we are going to be asking ourselves whether or not these are people that we want to take with us, or if some element of our relationship or our connection needs to transform and change to make it more sustainable, right? Venus in Aquarius really asks us, is your lover your friend? Can you get along with them? Can you guys go out and do things together? Like, do you guys have a strong foundation of communication, right? I always think about this with the Venus in air signs, all the air sign Venuses, Venus in Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. These Venus signs, they need someone they could talk to and they could be on the phone with for hours and hours and hours. And they need someone that they could bounce ideas off of. And they want a partner that's kind of intellectual, that is mentally stimulating. Okay. And so with Venus and Aquarius right next to Pluto for this new moon, if your partner is not your friend, okay, if you can't talk openly to your partner, if you can't share ideas with them, if you can't just be honest and vulnerable with them and things like this, there may be some pressure applied in the realm of relationships. And there may be some things that you have to take a look at with the microscope, boop, in your relationship, that you guys got to like talk about so that we can evolve it into a higher vibrational relational state. And also, when I think of Venus and Aquarius, also, Venus and Aquarius asks us, does my partner give me freedom and space to be myself? Does my partner accept me for everything that I am, even the different parts about me? Does my partner understand that I have a life outside of the relationship, right? And if any of those answers are like no, then you need to talk to your partner. Then we need to kind of figure out we need to go back to the drawing board of our relationship, because that tells us that something is off balance. Also, Venus in Aquarius is about egalitarianism and equality in relationships. So, whenever I think of Aquarius and Capricorn, because these are signs ruled by Saturn, I always think of imbalances of power in relationship. Um, this is because Saturn is a very, Venus and Aquarius, being in Saturn sign, Saturn's a very powerful planet. He's very domineering, he's very controlling, he can be. And when I think of Venus and Capricorn and Aquarius, I think of people that either get controlled or they want control in their relationships, okay? And with this Venus Pluto conjunction, and also this new moon trine Uranus, there may be this energy of, what, I want to be liberated, I want to be free, or, I don't want to be controlled, I don't want to be dominated, I don't want to be told what to do by my partner and stuff like that, right? So we need to be a little mindful, and we need to kind of like pay attention to what's happening in the realm of relationships with this new moon cycle, especially with Venus Pluto conjunct. I think this conjunction is actually happening on Tuesday. Let me see. Hold on. I think the conjunction it goes exact on Tuesday. On Tuesday. Yeah, it is Tuesday. Yeah, the 20th. Yeah. Well, actually, Venus. Yeah, it's like the 20th. Yeah, Venus. She's gonna be going past Pluto, and then we're gonna have Sun Mercury together at 0 degrees Aquarius as well on the 20th. So we're about to have a lot of energy shift in the next couple days as we enter Aquarius season. But yeah, someone asked, what about recent breakups and heartbreaks? Well, the thing is right now, right, with the energy is it's like if you're going through like a breakup or a heartbreak right now, you gotta think Venus just started a new cycle. So Venus, we just had a Venus Sun Cazimi a few days ago, with Sun Venus coming into a conjunction. I believe that happened last week. Um, and so Venus, she's starting a new cycle in relation to the sun. When was that, Kazemi? Let me see. Hold on. I'll tell you right now. It was on the, yeah, it was on January 11th. So it was actually Sunday. It was like January 11th. Yeah. So this was like, yeah, like pretty much 7 days ago, like a week ago from now. So when Venus moves past the sun, right, and she's starting a new cycle with the sun, where she's kind of like, we ask her, oh, okay, so this is the message that's coming through. We're asked the social contract for our relationships is up for renewal. Okay. So when Sun Venus start a new cycle, we're asking ourselves, do I really identify with this relationship? Does this partner really see me, respect me? Do they honor my boundaries, especially in Capricorn? Do they honor my boundaries? Do they honor my values? Is this someone I could depend on? Is this someone I could rely on? Are they mature? That's the other thing, right? We have this like Sun, Venus, Cazimi, and Capricorn. We have a new moon in Capricorn, right? It's like, are they dependable? Are they reliable? Are they trustworthy, right? They may be a little boring. They may be a little basic, they may be a little simple, right? But guess what? They are loyal and trustworthy and dependable. So if we're not getting this kind of like mature energy from someone, if we're not getting this like we could rely on them, we could depend on them, if they're not really, if we're kind of testing them against our values or they're not passing that test, because Capricorn is a sign that tests people, it tests things. Capricorn is a sign of testing, okay? Right? Like I always think of like the test at the end of the test at the end of like your a class that you take in college, your final exam, what that is like that final test that you take with anything is very Saturn, is very Capricorn. Because Capricorn asks us, did you master this? Right? Have you learned enough of this to get tested on it as a sign of mastery? Because Capricorn is a sign of mastery, right? And if not, then you're gonna fail. Then you don't pass the test, right? If they haven't been living up to our standards, living in accordance to our values, if they're not reliable, dependable, if they don't want long-term investment, long-term commitment, if they're not someone that is mature and serious, then what are we doing? Then what are we doing in the relationship, right? And these are things that we're going to be asking ourselves with this new moon. But I do think with Venus Pluto in a conjunction, or right next to each other during this new moon cycle, and Venus Pluto coming into conjunction in a few days, there's going to be a lot of breakups and separations for sure. Definitely, definitely, yes, definitely, yes, yes, yes. And we're going to see this again in a few weeks from now, like 3 weeks from now. As Venus gets to the last degrees of Aquarius, we're going to see this energy of kind of like breakup and breaking up and kind of like freeing ourselves from relationships and stuff like this. When Venus moves into a square with Uranus a few weeks from now, so Venus in Aquarius is going to square Uranus in Taurus, and Venus in Aquarius is really the rebellious lover. The lover that does not want to be tamed, that does not want to be told what to do, the lover that does not want to be dominated, and you know there may be conversations in relationships right now about space. I need space. Let me breathe. Go do your own thing. I need like a week off from this relationship, right? I need like a week off. I need a month off. I need 3 months. Oh my gosh, I just need some space. I can't breathe. I'm feeling claustrophobic. A relationship should never make, someone said I broke up with my boyfriend yesterday, spot on. A relationship should never make you feel like, I can't breathe. I'm stuck. I'm like in a straitjacket. It shouldn't make you feel that way. It shouldn't. And if it does, then something's got to give, something's got to change. It's really funny because I'm looking at this. I remember actually going over the astrology of this date, January 10th, that Saturday, because the moon is in Libra at this time, opposing Chiron in Aries and squaring the whole Capricorn stellium. So on January 10th, we actually had Sun Mars, square the moon in Libra, and also squaring Chiron in Aries. And this Chiron in Aries, I think Chiron in Aries has actually there's been a lot going on at Chiron in Aries and Jupiter in Cancer. And I want to I'll talk about this briefly because I do think that these planets are very, very important. Or, Chiron's not a planet, but an asteroid. But I do think these placements are very important right now. And the reason being, is because Chiron and Aries has been about us healing our identity wound, right? A wound around individuality, a wound around our own identity, a wound around our own power, a wound around our own personal authority. Also, healing our wound that we have around masculinity. Many of us have this. Many of us have a deep woundedness around our masculine energy, whether it be you're a man or a woman. Okay. And for a lot of women, the woundedness around masculinity projects outwards into wounded relationship experiences or being with men that are wounded. Okay. And feeling like they got to help them, they got to heal them, they got to save them, they got to show up and be the mom that they didn't have. Right. But what happens is because they're trying to take on the role of healer for someone who's wounded, and that wounded person is not actually trying to work on their own healing, then that wounded person actually ends up hurting them. And then we're just two wounded people hurting each other, right? Like that's what happens. So, with Chiron and Aries, there's this deep healing that we're being invited to do around our own individuality, around our own passions, around our own power, around our own identity. Who are we, right? But what's so interesting is the Chiron and Aries has been showing us, so listen to this. Chiron and Aries has been showing us a lot of our personal, individual woundedness through relationships. So we've been becoming aware of our own individual woundedness. Okay. We've been getting exposed to what hurts within us. Okay. Even how we give our power to others, or how we don't claim our own individual power, or how we're disconnected from our passions, right? That's been getting shown to us through many of the relationships that we've been experiencing. Yes. And this is because opposite of Aries is Libra. So much of the learning that we're doing and the healing that we're doing around Chiron and Aries is coming through Libra relationships, partnerships, connections with others, right? But the other interesting thing that I also wanted to talk about is Jupiter in Cancer, because Jupiter in Cancer is also in on this. Why? Because Jupiter in Cancer has been squaring this Chiron in Aries. And so what else, what other mess has been brought or is being brought into this? Ancestral trauma, the woundedness with our family, specifically our mother, okay? Our parental woundedness, the wounds that we carry as parents, as children, right? Our own wounded experience of being a parent, right? Our own wounded experience with our parents. And specifically, it's Jupiter in Cancer, square Chiron in Aries. So this is how you weren't nurtured, how you weren't emotionally supported, how you weren't emotionally loved. And the other thing, very important, when we're talking about Jupiter and Cancer, square Chiron and Aries, how you weren't protected. Yes, yes, listen to this. How you weren't protected. Because Cancer, Jupiter and Cancer, this is about protection as well. We expect our parents to protect us. And many of us were not protected by our parents and by our caretakers, right? So we have healing to do around self protection. And what's interesting about this is when we grow up not being protected, okay, by the very people that should be nurturing us, protecting us, and taking care of us, we put up walls, we become very autonomous, and we become very self-defensive, right? Because we have to learn how to fend for ourselves. We have to learn how to protect ourselves. right? We got to learn to we put up our walls and we become hyper dependent. A lot of people, right, become hyper independent. I don't need nobody because no one is safe. No one's going to protect me, right? So what's really important is that we do allow ourselves to heal this thing around protection and safety. Self-protection and safety. So what this is about vulnerability. The healing actually happens through vulnerability, being vulnerable with those that actually care for you, that love you, that want to protect you, and that want to keep you safe. A lot of times when we grow up without being protected or without this energy of like safety and security, or even without being nurtured or cared for, we learn to go without it, and we learn to operate without it. Oh, I don't need that. I don't need that. I went without it. I wasn't given that, right? I wasn't raised that way, so I can go without it. But deep down inside, actually, what our heart tells us, we actually do crave that. We want that support. We want that love. We want that protection. We want to be held. We want to be nurtured. We want to be cared for. We want to be supported. And we want to be given that acceptance and that love and that motherly affection that we never got, right? Or parental affection. I want to say motherly. I'm just saying motherly because of the archetype of Cancer. Okay, Jupiter and Cancer, right? Cancer is the sign of the mother. So with Jupiter and Cancer squaring Chiron and Aries, you know, for this new moon cycle, we really need to be taking a look at our this like ancestral woundedness, this woundedness around, the mother and the family and nurturing and caretaking and being protected, but also how that's also created some woundedness or some disconnect around our identity, around our passions, around our power, around our own personal authority. And these things can be intimately combined, right? With Jupiter and Cancer squaring Chiron and Aries. So it's very important. I think these are very important things that we need to like kind of take a look at, and we need to kind of like work through if this stuff has been coming up with us, There's been a lot of very, very interesting themes coming up in my readings around boundaries with family and around kind of people bringing stuff up that whether their family likes it or not, they don't care. They're like, no, we got to talk about this. You got to see this. You got to deal with this. We got to confront this. I got to air this out. I got to ask you this question. I need to know what you were feeling or what you're experiencing. Or even, I'm going to bring this up because this was something that hurt me and wounded me. And I want you to acknowledge that this happened. And I want your apology. Okay. I want you to just acknowledge that this is what happened. This is what you did, whatever. And I want you to apologize. Right. So there's a lot of this kind of like ancestral healing that is what we're being invited to do so that we can leave this stuff in the past. And so that also we can allow, because you know what's so interesting? What our trauma does, right? When we identify with our trauma and we internalize it, what it actually does is it actually blocks blessings. It actually blocks beautiful new things from coming in. And sometimes our trauma, okay, and our trauma informs our fears, informs our anxieties, informs our boundaries, right, and stuff like this, but it can actually be very self-sabotaging because we're thinking that we're protecting ourselves or keeping ourselves safe, but in actuality what we're doing is we're denying or rejecting things that we really want, that we really desire, or not making ourselves open and available to those things because there's an element of risk that comes with it, right? And that's how love is. Love is risky. Relationships are risky. You don't know what's gonna come. You don't know what's gonna. You're just you put your best foot forward and hope for the best. Whatever you put, but not. There's no guarantees. And so I think what's also really important, even though, we have this is a new moon in Capricorn cycle, we have Mercury, Mars together, and we have, Saturn about to go into Aries. Like we need to get comfortable with calculated risk and an element of risk for the things that we just and like being okay with an element of risk for things that we desire or things that we want. Very important because many of us we weren't taught to take risks. We were taught to always do the safe thing, to do the secure thing, to do the thing that's going to give you the guarantee. But a lot of times when we do that, we actually limit ourselves and we stifle ourselves and we, will willingly reject abundance because we think it's too much or it's too scary or it's too risky or it's too big of a change. When in actuality, no, that is the way forward, right? That is the way forward. That is where we should go. That is what we should do, right? So I really want you guys to think about, I really want you guys to think about this. I really want you guys to lean into this idea that it's okay to take risks. It's okay to kind of like do something different. It's okay to also challenge the status quo or challenge the family norm and to be the one that does things differently. You know, you may be come from a family of doctors, but no, you want to be you want to be a model. You want to be an actor. You want to be a musician. Okay? Like, yeah. Go do that. Okay? If you don't want to be a doctor, don't be a doctor. Okay? You don't have to. Just because it runs in the family doesn't mean that's got to be your path or your calling, you know? But yeah, what I will say is a lot of people making big career changes with this new moon, and a lot of people feeling like they want to go in a new direction and do something new or do something different than what they've done before. And what I will say also is just be really open to making money in new different ways. Is this year especially because I really feel we're just and it's this is the truth. This is like what's happening. Like the way we work, the jobs that we have, all those things are in a hyper state of evolution and change. Everything is evolving right now. And it's everything's moving really, really fast. It's happening at a very fast pace. And we gotta just let the change happen. We gotta let things evolve. We gotta let things move. Okay. We don't want to resist the change, the fast change that's happening right now because coming out of it, you know what? My this is my goal. This is my dream for all of us. Okay? My goal and my dream for all of us is that we can work if we want to. Okay? Or if we do work, we work 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and the rest of our time is for us. Is for family, is for our pets, is for our kids, is to learn, to study, to create, and to experience what it is to be human. This whole working 10 hours a day thing is not natural. It's not right. It's not good for us. It's not good for the spirit. It's not good for the soul. And it's not the way that this life was designed to be. We're not here to wake up and go to work every day. That's just not what it is. I know this deep down inside, okay? My spirit knows that this is a weird way we've been living, okay? And so I don't want you guys to be too attached to this idea like to that job until you're 9 to 5 and to the hustle culture and all that. Don't be too attached because let me tell you something. That's dying. That is dying. It's on its way out. It's not coming with us into 2030. I'm gonna let you know that right now. Okay. So we don't want to be too attached to it, you know? So that's where the Renaissance is going to come in. That's why a lot of, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there's been astrologers and spiritualists talking about a kind of like a renaissance that humanity's going to go through again, where we're going to be reconnecting to like art and culture, and we're going to be reconnecting to magic and divination and all of these things. It's already happening, but we're on the verge of it. We're on the precipice of it, but we're really going to see it, 2030 and beyond. So I want you guys to just really lean into that, okay? But let's reel it back, okay? I'm jumping ahead of myself. So coming back to the new moon in Capricorn. Okay, so who's this new moon in Capricorn? We're at an hour. So who's this new moon in Capricorn going to impact the most? It's going to impact late degree cardinal signs. So if you have anything around 28 degrees of a cardinal sign, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, Cancer, you have your sun, your moon, your rising there, okay? This new moon making an opposition to you if you have late degree Cancer placements, squaring you if you have late degree Aries or Libra placements, or conjoining you if you have late degree Capricorn placements is gonna it's gonna activate you. You're gonna feel like you gotta assert yourself in some type of way. You gotta have a difficult conversation. You want to get started. You want to make some kind of change. You want to do something new, do something different. Okay, and that's because Mercury, Mars, Moon, Sun all together. Okay. The energy of Mercury, Mars together is like new habits, new routines, new jobs. We're really, really feeling this, especially if you are a late degree cardinal sign. Okay. This will be the most beneficial new moon for Earth signs, Earth sign rising specifically. So if you are a Taurus, Virgo, or a Capricorn rising, this is going to be a very good new moon for you. Okay, this new moon is gonna bring in a new lover, a new job. This new moon is gonna bring in, a beautiful travel experience. You may book a ticket, you want a vacation, you want to go somewhere, you want to travel. This new moon can also bring in a new sense of self, new confidence, self-realized identity. You Earth signs might be thinking about changing some routines or changing some habits right now as well. So you guys might be thinking about like, oh, I want to, start going to the gym, or I want to like change my health routine or start eating differently, or I want to also go back to doing something you enjoy. So this could also be about like doing this new moon could be like, oh yeah, I want to pick up skiing again, or I want to pick up Pilates again, or I want to go back to painting and art. I want to go back to drawing. I want to go back to singing. I want to go back to performing, something like this, or even possibly being you want to like go back to school for something, okay? That could also be a possibility for you guys. You might be feeling called to like educate yourself or go back to school for something, or there may be something you want to learn. And it's also new moon in Capricorn, so this is about mastery of certain skills or talent. So if any of you have been feeling called to hey, you want to get that next, let's say you have your bachelor's, but you need your master's, you need your PhD in order to like accomplish something or do something, for like a bigger goal or bigger dream or for like a career path to like unfold or unlock for you, you should definitely do that. Okay. You should definitely do that. What would a child being born today mean? Well, funny that you mentioned that because I actually have a client who just had their baby yesterday. So they have a child that has this exact birth chart. And what's so interesting about this chart, right, is if the child were born on this day with this chart, a few things, okay? Dad is a hard worker, and dad is super ambitious, and dad is super career oriented. Okay. Dad may also be into sports or athletics. And dad, he may also have a little bit of an anger problem. He may have a little bit of a temper problem, but dad is going to be very business minded, and he's going to also be very emotional and very sensitive and things like this. Okay. The other thing is that this child is gonna be very codependently connected to their mother. Mom is gonna have a very close, intimate relationship with them. But the thing I'm a little worried about this chart, okay? I don't know if there may be some struggles between mom and dad in terms of the relationship. All right. So, a child born this day, the parents could have a little bit of a rough relationship. They can still be trying to like figure out the relationship and their connection. The other thing I will say is, which is something I'm seeing, is it does look like there may be a karmic pattern of maybe alcoholism that runs in the family, or substance abuse issues, or escapism things going on. And also, if a child is born today, their relationship with their siblings is going to be very, very karmic, very special, right? Especially older siblings. So what I mean by that is they can have a difficult relationship with an elder sibling, or an elder sibling, they have like a past life thing with the elder sibling or something like that, that they have to figure out. So there could be things around, being bullied or being rejected by the sibling, wanting love, wanting affection from the sibling. Them coming along and the older sibling not being happy that they're here. And so the older sibling being jealous or being, fighting for attention with the newborn and stuff like that. There may be stuff like that that comes up. Because I don't know, this child is kind of giving this chart is giving dad's favorite. So I think that this is very general, but that's what the chart is giving. It's giving this is dad's favorite child, okay? That's what it's giving. Also, I will tell you, this child may have some anger problems or some anger issues that they have to deal with growing up. And they can also be like a little cold or a little mean. So I think if a child is born today, yesterday, tomorrow, some of the things that you're going to have to work on with this child is being a little bit more soft, a little bit more compassionate as they get older. and not being so rigid or so hard. But this is a if a child is born around this time, around this new moon, they're going to be super ambitious. They're going to be like kind of like an old soul, and they're going to like hit the ground running. They're going to want to be working when they're like 12, 13 years old and making money and all this. This is a very ambitious chart, okay? But what I will say is it is kind of like a depressed chart. Any child born with this chart is the chart of the new moon, is prone to depression, very emotionally sensitive, and they may have a very weak relationship. Like their mom will like love them and care for them, but they may have a little bit of a weak relationship with the mom. Okay. They may have a weak relationship with their mother. What I mean by that is like mom is not very affectionate or very warm or very nurturing. Mom is a little rough around the edges. She's a little because I think she's a businesswoman. Because it also looks like mom is a businesswoman with this chart. Like mom is more concerned about like making money and doing her thing. Also, a child born today um could have actually the pregnancy itself could have been a big accident or a big surprise. So it's like so if a child's born today, more than likely, if they're born like today, yesterday, or tomorrow, they were unplanned. It was not a planned pregnancy, okay? It was an unexpected accidental pregnancy. That's because of the influence of Uranus on the new moon. Yeah, influence of Uranus on the new moon. So, okay, let's get back. Okay, so like I was saying, the most important, the signs that are going to feel this the most are going to be the cardinal signs. They may actually experience, especially if you have a cardinal rise, you may actually see this new moon create some kind of like immediate change or may move some things in your life like immediately. The signs that are going to benefit the most from this new moon are going to be the earth signs and also water signs, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Okay. But for water signs, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer, specifically if it's your rising sign, okay, this is like you can if it's your sun or your moon, that's fine too. But if you're a water sign rising, this new moon is going to be really good for your social life, for your communication life. So this new moon is going to be, it's because the new moon, if you're a water sign rising, is activating houses 3, 7, and 11. If you're looking at your chart in whole sign, okay? If you're looking at it in Placidus, then it's going to be a little bit different. But if you're looking at your chart using the whole sign system, this new moon, if you're a water sign rising, is going to be happening in houses 3, 7, and 11. And these are the houses of friendship, relationship, social connection, communication, our siblings, our neighbors, our aunt, our uncles, our business partners, our friend group. Okay. So you may see some activity, some new beginnings, or some fresh starts, but also some tension because Mercury, Mars together. There could be some conflicts that show up around your social life. Okay. There could be the word renewal came to me, so I'm just gonna go by, I'm gonna just, the download I'm getting around renewal is we renew a certain contract, social contract with someone. So this could be like, you know, a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, all of a sudden you guys are friends again. You know, a partner that you haven't seen in a long time, or an ex that you have, you guys kind of like, you guys start dating again or you guys try it out again or something like this, okay? But there's definitely this energy of like renewal and like refreshing a contract or something. So like this could also be like, okay, we've been together for this long and we've been, friends for this long and this is where we're at now and this is where I want us to go, or this is what I see for us in the future, or this is what I need to change before we proceed and move forward. Okay, so there's gonna be a lot of things around communication and like social connection and like interaction for water signs with this new moon and Capricorn cycle, where their social lives and their relationship lives are very, very stimulated. And there's like an invitation to like start something new, or to go in a new direction in the realm of relationships and partnerships. What I will say is water signs are also going to be way more open to connection and like talking and communicating during this new moon cycle. And they're going to feel the need to say something or address something with people in their life. So if you are someone and you have a water sign rising person in your life, if you are someone with a water sign rising, if you have a lot of Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer in your chart, okay? Do not be surprised if you feel very social, you feel like you want to connect, you feel like you want to communicate, you want to talk, you want to and there could also be significant things around like letters and stuff. So there could be like an important letter that comes in the mail, there could be an important phone call that you have. Um, I don't know why, but I was getting like the word long lost came to me. So I don't know if it's like a long lost cousin, a long lost friend, a long lost parent, a long lost lover. Okay, maybe. There's something around people kind of like coming back from the past, and they're like they've been long lost, and they're like finding you again, or you're like finding them again. Okay, so that's what one of the things I have coming through. If my Aquarius rising at 29 degrees, should I be considered Pisces? No, you shouldn't. Okay, if you're a 29-degree Aquarius rising, then you should be thinking about it for air signs. Okay. Someone said, my aunt called me today to tell me I have a long lost half sister. Whoop-de-doo. That's funny. That's really funny, actually. Yeah, that came to have that download. I don't know, I was just tapping into that and that phrase came to me. So it's funny. It must have come through you. I realize like that's sometimes what I'm doing on this live, and this is also when I used to do readings on the live. Those of you that remember that when I used to do readings. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go back to that this year. But the only thing with that, spot on with the long lost cousin. Yeah, the only thing with that when I used to do readings on the live is like I would be here for like 8 hours, 6 hours, and it would just be like nonstop. Okay. And that's where it was just like too much and it was overwhelming for me. But maybe we'll go back to it. Anyways, one of the things I realized, one of the things I'm doing when I'm like on the live with you guys is not only am I channeling, but I'm also reading your guys' thoughts. I'm reading your guys' energy. I'm like reading you guys. I'm like, so you guys are like looking at me, right? You guys are like looking at me and your attention is on me, but because you guys are also transferring energy to me. I'm picking up on like what you're thinking. I'm picking up on your thoughts. I'm picking up on like what's happening around you and stuff. And this is also what I do when I do readings. So this is like when I give you guys readings, you're like, "Oh my God, how did you know I was thinking that?" Or, "Oh my God, that's something I just talked to my spouse about. Oh my God, I had that question on my mind and you answered it, but I didn't even have to ask it." Well, that's because, baby, I'm a psychic. I'm intuitive, okay? And I'm able to read your mind. I have Sun, Mercury, Pluto together in Scorpio. Okay, that's what it is. It's my Scorpio energy. Okay, I'm reading your thoughts. I'm reading your energy. That's what I'm doing. Okay, and it's funny though because it happens also. It just happens naturally for me. It's something that I think I started doing this or I cultivated this when I was in banking. Just by tapping into people and just like focusing in on people energetically. We all can do this, by the way. We all have it, but we got to work on being more open. One of the things with me, and this is one of the things I don't know for those of you that got it reading with me, I'm very open, and my openness gives you permission to be open with me when we're doing a reading or doing a session together. And the openness, right? The openness allows for the free flow of information and psychic intuitive energy. And that's where I'm getting impressions. We all have it, but we got to be willing to be open and vulnerable. The more open and vulnerable we are, the more intuitive and psychic we are actually. Okay? Because intuition, it's just about reading energy. And it's like the information is all around us. So we live in a huge information field, right? Anything that you want to know, anything that you want to know is out there. The answers are all out there. But it's just about being able to tune our antenna in and focus it in to be able to like receive the transmission and to pull that information out of the cosmos or out of the great informational, you know, the great informational void, I guess you can say, right? Like we all have it. So, okay. Anyways, sorry, that was a little tangent. But let's get back to the new moon in Capricorn. So, let me see what someone asked. Okay. Okay. So, going back to the new moon, sorry about that. Pisces and divorce. Well, Saturn's in Pisces, so yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Well, the thing is, mutable signs. Okay, I'll just, because I don't even know where I left off, but anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going. I'm gonna talk about fire signs and air signs next. I was talking about water sign risings. That's what I was talking about. Okay. So, but before I move on to that, before I talk about air sign risings and fire sign risings for the new moon, because I'm gonna give you guys get that too. I'm gonna talk to you guys about that, okay? But before I move on to that, one of the things I wanted to say for mutable signs, if you are a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, okay, this period, especially the next 3 months, okay, going into Pisces season, very important for you guys because you guys have the nodes going through Pisces and Virgo, wrapping up in Pisces and Virgo, and you also have Saturn in Pisces about to leave Pisces. The nodes are going to be leaving Pisces and Virgo in a few months, like 6, 7 months from now, but Saturn's leaving Pisces next month. And so the mutable signs have been getting hit last year and this year, not only with Saturn, but also the nodes and the eclipses have been hitting them. So this tells us this is a karmic testing period for Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag placements. A lot of things around divorce and separation, a lot of things around sudden climactic changes with family and with friendships, and also radical changes with their home, their living situation, and also like a lot of instability with like work and career stuff, like sudden changes with jobs and work. Like they've been working at a place for certain amount of time, then they get fired, they got let go, they got laid off, whatever. It's been a lot. It's because of the eclipses, the North Node and the South Node in Pisces and Virgo. It's also because of Saturn and Pisces that the mutable signs have been getting tested. But what this has been trying to show you guys, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, is that you need to be a little bit more mature. You need to be a little bit more autonomous. You need to be a little bit more independent. And you also got to know how to let shit go. You got to know how to let shit go. You got to learn how to, whether you like it or not, because let me tell you why. Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, there's things that have been taken away from you. Okay? Or there's things that are leaving you or exiting your life, or they have exited and left your life. Okay? And you got to be like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the time that you were here. Thank you for the time that you gave me. And thank you for leaving. I appreciate that. I love you. Thank you for leaving. Okay? Very important because you got to understand the eclipses in Saturn have been telling you this is not meant to come with you. This is not for you. Or your time with this thing is up. You've given this thing enough time. Your time with this thing is up. And now it's time to let it go and move on to the next timeline. There's something new, there's something different. And many of you are like, no, I don't want that. I want you. I want that thing in the past. I want to stay attached. I don't want the change. But too bad. Okay. Saturn doesn't care. Neither does the nodes. Okay. And I don't either. Actually, I don't care either. I love you, but I don't care because you know what? It's time to move on. Well, yeah, when someone leaves your life, you say thank you. Thank you for the time spent. Thank you for the lessons learned. Thank you for the experience. Okay. Yeah, it's very important, my love, especially if you're a mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. Okay, I know it's been hard. The beautiful thing, though, is that the nodes and Saturn are leaving the mutable. They're leaving Pisces. Laughs and I don't care. They're leaving Pisces. And so the mutable signs are about to go through a kind of like a rebirth, like an evolution. Like they're the mutable signs this year, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, you're going to have a little bit of a glow up and they're going to kind of get back to themselves, right? But the other thing, it's like, mutable signs, you confronting addictions, confronting codependent patterns, feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling a little, you've been like blowing in the wind, you're a wayward soul. Well, Saturn in the North has been like, okay, what's your direction? What are you doing? Where are you going? What do you want the next 7 years of your life to look like? What do you want the next 15 years of your life to look like? What do you want the next 21 years of your life to look like? Right? And so this is where Saturn is in the North Node has been trying to align you guys, mutable signs specifically, with like the bigger vision, the bigger dream, but also has been trying to like stabilize them. Like mutable signs have been having to get more serious about their life and about themselves. And some of that has looked like, codependent relationships being taken away from them, jobs that they're not supposed to be in being taken away from them having to leave behind family and friends and a certain social life or a certain way of being that's very unhealthy, very toxic for them. And they can't, it's like you can't continue to go out and party and just do all that. Like, no, it's time to mature. It's time to grow up. So I posted something on Saturday and I think this is a good time to speak on that. So what I was talking about is with Saturn entering Aries, a lot of folks are going to be starting where they're starting a new timeline where they're going to be committing to things for like long term. So what I mean by this is like kind of like committing to a new goal or dream that's going to be something that's going to take either 7, 14, 21, 28 years to gestate. Committing to a partner that where they're going to be with for like 7, 14, 21, 28 years, like a Saturn cycle, okay? And if you are someone that has Saturn in a cardinal sign, so if you have Saturn in Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, okay? You're about to go with Saturn going into Aries next month. You're about to experience your either Saturn square, your Saturn return, or your Saturn opposition, okay? If you have Saturn in Capricorn, you're going to be experiencing a waxing square. Okay. If you have Saturn in Cancer, you're going to be experiencing a waning square. Okay. So a waxing square. So if you have Saturn in Capricorn, those of you with Saturn in Capricorn, those of you that are born around 1991, 92, I think you guys have that. Saturn Aries is going to be about expansion and growth when it comes to like work and career and you guys kind of like taking on the next level of maturity in your life. So many of you guys, those of you with Saturn in Capricorn, you guys are going to be around the age of like 35, 36, 37 over the next 3 years. And that is a huge period of usually career growth, career expansion. And we also tend to see, you know, um, responsibilities coming, like committing to new responsibilities. So like, oh, I'm having another child, or I'm having a child, or oh, I'm getting a mortgage. Like, because the thing about Saturn, right? Saturn is all about responsibility and obligation and commitment and contracts. And Saturn matures us. So Saturn is also about the evolution of our life when it comes to time. And so as we get older, there's certain things that we do, right, that are kind of like these very important life markers. Like, oh, the day that I got married. Oh, the day that I retired. Oh, the day that I had my first child, whatever, right? Or the day that I met this person and that became the long-term serious relationship, right? And so when we experience a Saturn square, typically that's when we have those kind of moments, those memorable moments that are like, okay, well, this thing entered my life where I committed to this thing and it started this like whole new chapter of my life. So if you are someone with Saturn in Capricorn, Aries, um, Cancer, or Libra, you're about to be experiencing your a Saturn aspect, okay? Those of you with Saturn and Libra, I know a lot of you with Saturn and Libra because a lot of you are my clients. You guys were born, I believe, I think 82, 83, 84, maybe 81, 82, 83. I would have to go back and look. But around that, the early 80s. And many of you with Saturn and Libra, you guys also have Pluto in Libra, actually, because Pluto is at the last degrees of Libra. So the Saturn and Libra people with Saturn and Aries, we're going to be seeing a lot of them either get married or break up with a partner or go through a divorce or separation. It's going to be a really big theme for Libra people in general is either a serious relationship, something more steady or more stable, or a divorce or separation. And also like legal problems and legal issues is going to be a big theme. I will tell you this, there's going to be some very memorable court cases and legal battles that we're going to have with Saturn in Aries because it does oppose Libra. And if you are someone with Saturn in Libra, you were born in the early 80s. Um, Pay attention to what's moving your life. And sometimes, that that court case or that legal battle is the divorce, is the separation, right? Like that's what it is. That's so funny, right? It's like it's funny because Libra is a sign of relationships and marriage, but Libra is also the sign of like court, court, lawyers, legal proceedings. And so a big thing with marriage is also divorce and separation, which is like a seventh house thing, which is also a Libra thing. So it's funny how those things are like interconnected. And if you're somewhat Saturn in Cancer, that's you must be, I think Saturn in Cancer was Saturn in. I would have to take a look. I don't even know when the Saturn in Cancer kids, they must be young. Saturn in Pisces, Saturn in Cancer, 714. Hmm. Maybe they're in their 20s, 21, 22. 2000s maybe? Were they born in the 2000s, the Saturn Cancer kids? Yeah. Well, there's gonna be a lot of things for the Saturn Cancer kids, or even those of you that are older that have Saturn and Cancer, um, around family boundaries and around autonomy from the family. You have Saturn Taurus? Okay, let me see when Saturn was in Cancer. There's gonna be a lot of things around boundaries and autonomy with from the family and stuff with the Saturn and Cancer. Anybody have Saturn and Cancer here? Anybody have Saturn and Cancer? Oh, okay, 2005. So yeah, so they're about 21. Yeah, they're going to be going through their Saturn square. So Saturn was in Cancer in 2004, 2005, a little bit of 2003. No, no, no. 2004, 2005, 2006. So those kids are around 2021 right now. So they're going to be going through their Saturn square. And it makes sense because that age, 20, 21, 22, is when we're adults, but we're not really adults yet. Like legally we're adults, but we're still figuring ourselves out or figuring out our identity and stuff. So it's really interesting that the Saturn and Cancer kids with Saturn going into Aries, if they're like, because they were born like 2003, 4, 5, they're going to be separating from their family and like putting up boundaries with their family and stuff like that and kind of like figuring themselves out, kind of like rebelling and stuff against like the family and stuff. The expectations of the family. Also, I feel like the Saturn and Cancer kids, they all have bossy moms. I don't know if you guys, has anyone who else who does readings or who's an astrologer, have you guys ever done a reading for anyone that has Saturn and Cancer? One of the things I've noticed with kids that have Saturn and Cancer is their mother tends to be very strict and dominant, and she's like plays no games, and she could be a little mean. She's not very supportive. She's a little mean. Saturn in Cancer. That's the bossy mom. That's the bossy mom placement. Anyways, okay, let's go back to the astrology. So, all right. So now I'm gonna talk about air sign risings and fire sign risings. Okay, so let's refocus. Let's get back to the new moon. So new moon in Capricorn. Okay, if you are a Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini rising, okay, or even if you have like your sun or your moon there, if you don't know your rising, you could just use your sun sign or you could use your moon sign. Okay, it'll probably resonate more with your sun because the rising sign is connected to the sun. So, um, use your rising sign first. If you guys are, for anything, any kind of astrological delineations, if you're, a YouTube warrior and you go on YouTube and you're, go and look at, 10 different astrologers talking about the new moon and you want to know how it's going to hit you and stuff, always use your rising sign first, Then you use your sun sign, and then the last sign you use your moon sign, okay? Because it'll resonate in that order. It'll resonate most with your rising, and then second your sun, and then your moon, okay? So air sign risings. This new moon is happening in houses 10, oh, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. Houses 12, 4, and 8 for you. Okay. So Aquarius rising has Capricorn in the 12th house. Um, Libra rising has Capricorn in the fourth house. And Gemini rising has Capricorn in the eighth house. Okay. These are the houses of endings. These are the houses of transformation and change. These are also the houses that bring us back to the past. These are very emotionally sensitive houses as well. That's where we hide all of our secrets, we hide all of our trauma. That's where we experience loss and things like this. But also, these are also the houses of psychic and spiritual exploration and activation. These are the houses that are connected to the occult and to the mystical sciences and to the unseen realms and stuff like this. And 12 houses connected to dreams and stuff like this as well, or things on the other side of the veil. And so for air sign risings, okay, there may be this new moon may call you to go inward. Okay. This new moon may ask you to take a deep look at something and be like, you know, do I really want this in my life, or do I need to leave this behind or let this go? There may also be emotions that you guys need to process that come to the surface, and um, the word confession came to me, and then right after that, communication. So the download I'm getting around this is there's things that you've been holding on to, there's things within you that you've been thinking about or feeling that you need to like communicate or let out, or that you need to express to others, air sign risings. And there's stuff that, and there's also maybe it's about grief. Maybe it's about, there's like grief, there's sadness, maybe there's like loneliness, maybe there's like heavy emotion that you got to like confront in some type of way, or even like losses that you've dealt with that you need to like, or losses that you've experienced where like the emotional recoil of it, it's like time to process that stuff and it's time to like move forward with that stuff. Um, the other download I'm getting for air sign risings is this new moon is calling you guys to rest and to take care of yourself. And to another thing I want to say, air sign risings, this is for you especially, and fire sign risings, because I'm going to talk about fire sign risings. We're going to talk about sixth house in a bit. Health for you guys, taking care of yourself, detoxing the body, getting more rest, getting more sleep, taking care of your lung health, taking care of your blood health, okay? Getting those kidneys, getting the working on the kidney health. Okay, your kidneys, oh Lord Jesus. The lung health, the kidney health, your blood pressure. Okay. Um, there's certain things where air sign risings this new moon is telling them to work on their body and work on their health. And this could also be about like routines and habits and stuff like this that you gotta like shift or change, okay? Because there's things, it's like what I'm getting is like self-care. It's really interesting, but there's this download around like self-care that I'm getting for air sign risings where maybe you guys have been a little irresponsible around self-care. Maybe you really haven't been pouring into yourself. You haven't been really feeling like yourself. You're feeling a little disconnected from yourself. So this new moon at Capricorn is calling, is kind of giving me like coming back to the body and coming back to like what you really need. And also taking a look at your daily structures. Like, what are you doing every day, air sign risings? And does your daily lived experience cater to your well-being, right? Like, is your day-to-day life sustainable and healthy and good for you? Or do we need to like pivot or change in some type of way? Okay, that's the thing that I'm kind of like getting. But there's definitely this message around like grief, loss, endings. acceptance. Maybe air sign risings need to do a release ritual. They need to do like a clearing. They need to clear some energy. Maybe I would say like take a salt bath, or if there's something that you want to release or let go of, air sign risings with this new moon because it's like holding you back from like a fresh start or a new beginning. Maybe write that thing a letter and then like dispose of it in some type of way, bury it or something as a symbol of like release and closure and like letting go and stuff. Okay. But what I will say is houses 4, 8, and 12 are the most difficult houses of the chart. Having a new moon in houses 4, 8, 4, 8, and 12 as an air sign rising can have you confronting your trauma, can have you needing a therapy session, can have you feeling a little isolated and lonely, can have you feeling like, you know, like you just need to be in your own energy. And if you need that, then like call that in, okay? The one thing I will say though, the redeeming energy is the Venus and Aquarius for you guys. So I really do think the Venus and Aquarius for the new moon is telling you guys to kind of like really value yourself and really take a look at what you bring to the table in the realm of relationships and partnerships and like social connections and stuff. And if you've been like overgiving, overperforming, overdoing in this realm of like relationships and connections, like really come home to yourself and really see the value that you bring to the table in all your relationships and all your partnerships. Air sign risings, okay? Um, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. All right. Yeah. There could also be things around money and finances that you guys are going through. So another download I'm getting for air sign risings is a little bit of struggle or hardship around resources and money and finances. One of the things I will say, if you are an air sign rising, I do believe that Pisces season, yes. hmm Pisces season is going to bring you guys some like money making opportunities or a new job or an influx of money, or you're going to get paid out for something, or if you've been waiting for like a settlement or something like this. I'm kind of getting a download around Pisces season for you guys, but the eighth house and the 12th house are connected to debts and expenses, and they're connected to, you know, yeah, like financial liabilities, taxes, debt, your credit card, stuff like that. So, that may come up as like a theme for you guys for air sign risings, okay? For air sign risings. All right. And last but not least, fire sign risings are experiencing this new moon in Capricorn in houses 2, 6, and 10. So if you are Aries or Leo or a Sag rising, you are having this new moon in either the second, sixth, or the 10th house. And these are the houses of work and career. These are the houses of money. These are the houses that are connected to your job, your daily routine, your health, your food, your diet. These are the houses that are also connected to bosses and authority figures and the energy of management and like your career direction and what it is that you're here to do and how you want to show up in the world and your public image and your reputation and your higher mission, your calling, all those things, fire sign risings. So this is a beautiful time, Aries, Leo, Sag rising, to really reassess where you're going and what you're doing in terms of like work and career. And like if you want to make a change with like a job, or if you want to like have like do an entrepreneurial thing where you are, making more money, or you are an entrepreneur, or you are going into business partnership with someone else or something like this, I think that should be something that you're very open to. Aries, Leo, Sag, rising. Okay. This could also be about sickness and illness for you guys as well, though. So, especially if you are a Leo rising, I know a lot of Leos right now have been dealing with like health issues and stuff like this. And that's because, Saturn's in their eighth house and the new moon's happening in their sixth house. Okay. So if you put Leo in the rising, you get Capricorn in the sixth, which is where we got the new moon and the whole new moon stellium. And then we also have Saturn in the eighth of the north node. So Leos, right? Leo rising can be a sign that is dealing with sickness and stuff. Another thing I want to say for those of you that are still here, when it comes to health in general, For this new moon, the areas of the body that we need to be aware of are our bones, our teeth, the minerals within our body, and also our bones, our teeth, our blood, our knees, knee health. Okay. So, those of you that have like, what is that called? A torn meniscus. Be careful with tearing your meniscus. Okay. Okay, and just going too hard in the gym and stuff like that. Okay. Only because we have Mercury Mars together. So Mars is the planet of inflammation. Mars creates woundedness. Mars he applies heat, and when he's on Mercury, it's gonna inflame like the lungs. It's gonna inflame the throat. It's gonna inflame the wrists. It's gonna inflame the shoulders. So if you're someone you have had like a wrist injury, you've had a shoulder injury, you have had this thing with your chest and your lungs. Don't be surprised if it gets inflamed or if it comes back a little bit with Mercury Mars in a conjunction. Okay, I mean things like this. All right, but yes, health is definitely going to be a theme for you guys. And this could also be about it's time to like change your diet or something like this. Um, Fire sign risings, you guys also may need to take a look at your spending and your bank account and like your spending habits. So, Capricorn is a sign of responsibility and obligation. It's like tightening up the ship. And it's like, we only spend on the things that we need. Like that's like a Capricorn thing, right? And so maybe it's time to get back to a spending plan. Maybe it's time to get back to being a little bit more like retention around resources. So, budgeting and stuff like this, or committing to like a savings plan and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. Someone asked, what about mental health? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. It depends on what you're asking about, but right now, a lot of people have been dealing with mental health issues. I think it's a sign of the times, but I also think it's because we've been having a lot of like Saturn energy and a lot of Saturn aspects, and also because we have Saturn North Node in Pisces, and I really do think that, you know, it's like the truth of the matter is that Pisces is a sign of self-sabotage and self-undoing, right? Pisces is the sign of escapism and addiction. Pisces is the sign of alcoholism. Okay. And with Saturn, North Node, Neptune, and Pisces, we've been seeing a lot of people right now trying to escape into their own reality in some type of way. And I'm guilty of this as well. That's me too. Okay. I'm a Pisces rising, so I know all about this. Um, and the thing is this energy of detachment is coming from the collective trauma of the moment. You know, we just it's like we are in information overload in a very negative way. There's too much collective suffering and sadness. We're overwhelmed with we're bombarded with tragic information right now. We need to be very mindful, okay, of the information that we're putting into our psyche and putting into our consciousness, okay? And we need to be very particular around what we're engaging with. And this is like in social media, this is like with other people, this is like, what's going on in like Palestine and what's going on and like it's just everywhere, all around the it's just like where is it not? Okay, like there's like everyone is like there's like this suffering and this sadness that's like kind of taking over the world in a way, right? But the thing that's important is we can't internalize it. We can't own it and make it our burden. Like this is something I always say. It's not our responsibility to carry the burdens and the suffering of the world. Okay, leave that to Jesus. Okay, let Jesus do it. Okay, right? But like, it's not our work to carry on the world's suffering and struggles and stuff like this. We have to have a certain amount of spiritual discernment and spiritual detachment to allow ourselves to understand that. there is this collective moment where there's a lot of tragedy and loss and sadness in the sky, but we can experience it as human beings, but not be overcome by it and not be defeated by it. Okay. So yeah, mental health is a thing right now, and also I always think of Pisces and I'm Chiron and Aries. These are like Aries and Pisces, right? Um, these are signs that are these are like should I even say this? I don't even know if I should say this, but it's like self-undoing, self-sabotage, self-destruction, right? And we just need to be very mindful of this energy right now because we can either give into it and like self-implode and like, be self-destructive, or we can see this as a collective moment of like learning and healing and like deeper spiritual development and spiritual awareness. Okay. If you think about it, right? Even like 200, 300 years ago, before we had mass media and social media and everything, our experience of reality was localized. And what do I mean by this? We only knew whatever was happening in our local environment, right? Like back in the days, even 100, 200 years ago, okay? Like your only concerns were local. What was happening with your neighbor? What was happening with your aunt and uncle? What was happening with this person, right? Like it was local. But now with media, with social media and the news and everything, we have access to all the world's struggles and all the world's problems, and it's like, and it's too much, it's overwhelming, it's too much, right? So I think with Uranus going into Gemini, I think, you know this reconnecting to your local community and like being a human being in like a city and like a local place is something that's going to be very important and very necessary for our mental health and our mental well-being, because by being overly connected to the world's problems, the world's issues, we get emotionally exhausted and we get emotionally tapped out, and we get emotionally numb because there's just too much going on. And it's just like information overload for our heart, for our spirit, for our compassion. You know what I mean? So I just want you guys to think about that. I want you guys to be very mindful of that because, um, this I see a lot of people struggling with mental health, and it's because they don't have a spiritual understanding for all the problems and the struggles and the suffering of the world. And when we understand, okay, like this is one of the things astrology has showed me, that we've come here to suffer in some type of way. We've come here to struggle and suffer and experience hardship that we don't get to experience on the other side of the veil. When we come to understand that, we actually can lean into the experience and we cannot be victimized by it, so that when we go through hard, difficult, sad, tragic things, we don't internalize it and get stuck in the experience of it and get overwhelmed by the grief and the sadness. And then it's just like we get shut down. But we actually lean in and we're like, wait a minute, this is part of my soul's development. This is like a karmic thing I was here to experience. I have to emotionally feel this and go through the tragedy and the loss and the struggle and the hardship and whatever, but also like I can develop through it, right? I can evolve through it. Like it's gonna refine me and strengthen me and teach me something very important, and I can grow through it, right? So that's the thing. It's like we don't want to get stuck. We don't want to get stuck on any particular emotion or any particular experience. We can't internalize these things and identify with these things. Yes, someone said, me and my therapist were talking about how grief can make people feel stuck. Yes, they can. A lot of times when we experience grief, sometimes the grief can be so overwhelming that it feels like we're dead inside, like something within us is dead, right? And we lose our will to live. We lose our vitality and our excitement and our passion for life. We cannot do that. We can't. It's important. Those that are really spiritually aware and spiritually in the know, those that are really spiritually developed, understand that suffering is an inevitable truth of this reality. And this is what Saturn teaches us in astrology, but this is also what Buddhism will teach you, This is what Hinduism will teach you. Like Taoism will teach you this. All the isms, right, will teach you this. You're going to suffer, you're going to struggle, right? You're going to go through really sad, tragic things. Everyone in this lifetime is going to experience death because Saturn is connected to death traditionally in astrology. Everyone is going to experience someone that passes away in their life because that's part of life. That's literally part of this experience, right? And if that's a truth, if death is an inevitable truth of our lived experience, we got to be able to fit it into our philosophy, right? But most of us do not have a deep spiritual understanding, or we haven't really reckoned with, or we haven't really incorporated the idea and the concept and the experience of death into our lived experience. And so when something is on the verge of death, or when something it's time for something to die, or it's time for something to let go of something, oh, we get stuck. Oh, we get all anxious. Oh, we resist it. Oh, we fight it. Oh, we internalize it instead of just letting it be what it is, right? Part of our lived experience is letting things die because you can't have one without the other, you know? Someone said, how do I get a personal reading by you? Go on my link tree. So if you look at my bio, I have a link there. You could click on that, and then it'll say book an appointment. And then you click on that, and it'll show you all the list of readings. And um, yeah, and then you can go to my calendar and book an appointment there. Okay. If you have any questions, you can always email me or DM me. Okay. I'm an open book, and I love to answer any questions that people have if they're confused about like booking and stuff. Um, Someone said, but parts of us die all the time. Death and endings come in various ways, the self for others. Yes, this is so true. And this is true because astrology shows us this, right? Like we all have an eighth house. We all have a 12th house. We all have a fourth house, right? Some of us have a little bit more of an intimate understanding or relationship with endings and death, and we're more attuned to the experience because we do have placements in those houses, you know? And whenever I see someone with like a 12th house and an eighth house sun or moon, or, they have a stellium there, especially the eighth and the 12th, it's like they've gone through some things in their life where things or people or experiences of death. And it has totally transformed and changed them. And you know what happens is when they go through those experiences, if they actually went through the experience in a way that spiritually evolved them, they come out more loving, they come out more compassionate, they come out more like humbled in a way, and more aware and more tuned with like empathy, because these experiences are here to make us more empathetic. Like we're literally here. A big part of why we're here on this planet is we're here to learn how to care. We're here to learn how to care. We're here to learn how to have compassion and love for things. And we're here to learn what true love is about. And when sometimes love is about letting go. Sometimes love, the biggest act of love is to be like, thank you for the time. That was wonderful, but now it's time for me to go. It's time for you to go, you know? I'm just thinking of that song. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. You know? Um, yeah. And I think this is like it's like this is part of what we're here to experience. Like, and we have to find a place for death in our life. This may sound very weird, my love, but listen, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, you have to find a place for death in your life. You have to, be like, come sit next to me, death. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you a little bit. Okay? Because then you won't be afraid of it and you won't resist it. Right? A lot of our biggest fear, a lot of us, my firm belief is that the root of all of our fears is death. We're all afraid of going back to the great beyond. We're all afraid of leaving these bodies, and we get really attached to these bodies. But if we can get to know death and overcome that fear and find a place for death in our philosophy, in our spiritual lived experience, whatever, then we can no longer be bound by that, and we can overcome that fear, and we can actually experience death as something that's very liberational and very empowering and very, it's the promise that, you're not going to have to be here forever. This is a very finite lived experience that you're going to have here in this body, in this life, with this person, with this name that you have. It's not going to be like this forever. you know? Someone said recap on Gemini. I can't. I'm sorry, my love. You're gonna have to go. I'll go and post this. You go back and watch it, okay? Yeah, I'm not gonna do a recap on Gemini and Capricorn. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna wrap up with Aries, Sag, and Leo rising because we've been here for a few hours. All right. So Aries, Sag, Leo rising. This new moon in houses 2, 6, and 10. Okay. It's very, very important. Oh, my love, I'm sorry. She says she has eighth house. I have an eighth house Pisces and had a miscarriage last month. I was very sad about that loss, but it transformed me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, my love. Yeah, miscarriages are very, very hard. Not only are they hard on our body, but they're kind of like hard on our spirit and our soul. Especially for women and for mothers, miscarrying. And it's very important. So like a lot of times, right, when women go through a miscarriage, they really they like make it personal, and they feel like they failed. And I just want to tell you this. I don't know, this is like coming to me, so maybe this is like a message for you. Um, you cannot, if you experience like a miscarriage or something, you cannot feel like a failure. Like you failed. Like I failed as a mother, I failed. No, you cannot. That's something you cannot do. You really got to see it as something that was like karmically not aligned. And what's crazy is sometimes like even when I'm doing readings for people and stuff like this, especially for mothers and for women, I can literally see in a chart when a certain pregnancy was going to be either a miscarriage or an abortion. So I'll be able to be like, oh yeah, your second pregnancy you miscarried or aborted, or your third pregnancy you miscarried or aborted, because it'll literally be in the chart. It'll be like it's like ingrained in their birth chart, right? So what that tells me is that there's certain karmic things that we're going to experience as humans, and sometimes it's going to be sad and tragic and it's going to be full of loss, but it's also kind of written and scripted, which means that you can't take it personal or be like, oh, this was something that I did or a failure that I made, right? No, it's actually not the truth, because it was kind of already there. It was already there in a way. So that tells us that there's something that you agreed to experience, which is that miscarriage, right? Or that loss or that tragedy or whatever. Um, and that was meant to kind of like deepen you in some type of way. It was meant to kind of open up you in some type of way. And you must be a Leo rising. Yeah, you must be a Leo rising. Um, are you a Leo rising, Danny? Yeah, she's Leo rising. I know you're a Leo rising because I think we did a chart reading before. Lucy said mine happened during the node transition with giving birth. Somebody, yeah. So you might want to try again when Jupiter goes into Leo. Try again when Jupiter goes into Leo, my love. The thing is, okay, so this is why I'm like Leo rising right now, Saturn in the eighth house, the sixth house stellium. I was just talking about this, but why like weird experiences with kids or even losses with kids and children and stuff like this? Why is Leo rising experiencing this? That's because Leo rising has Jupiter, Sag, ruling their fifth house of children, but the ruler of Sag, Jupiter, is in their 12th house in Cancer. So this is why fifth house things right now are not like thriving or not looking good, or we're experiencing losses around fifth house things for Leo rising and also Aquarius rising. Like lovers, romance, children, friends. There's like losses and there's like sad or, unfortunate outcomes that they've been experiencing because of the fifth house ruler going through the 12th house. And if you're an Aquarius rising, okay, it's your 11th house ruler going through your sixth house. It's opposite of Leo rising, right? So when the fifth house ruler goes through the 12th house, right? That can literally be literally because fifth house is children, 12th house is losses. That can literally be the loss of a child or like an abortion or like a miscarriage or something like this. Someone said, I'm a Gemini rising, had a miscarriage last month as well. Yeah, my love, like this astrology has been a little difficult, a little hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. Gemini rising, I would have to take a look at your chart because that's probably something specific to your chart. But yeah, I know Leo rising. Yeah, Leo rising for sure. It's that Jupiter, 12th house Jupiter. So yeah, all right. So let's refocus this because we're just like getting into unknown territory. Or we're getting into not new moon and Capricorn territory, okay? Um, so yeah, fire sign risings, okay? Your health, your body, work, routines, habits, new jobs, new career opportunities, new ways of making money and stuff like that. Changes with your diet and stuff like this, okay? Um, but I love you all so much. We're already at 7 o'clock, and I just wanted to say I'm so grateful and thankful to all of you guys for supporting me and for sending me all your friends and family and everything. I've been super busy. Been super busy. I've been doing like I usually only do 2 readings a day, but there's some days I've been doing 3 readings. And I've also been doing readings on the weekends just because there's been such a demand and people just want to know what the fuck is happening in my life? What's going on in 2026? So all of you that have been sending people my way and that have been booking readings and keeping me busy, I just want to say I'm so grateful and appreciative of you guys. The other thing that I wanted to say is if you are like in a different country or a different time zone that's not the United States, and my calendar just doesn't like make sense with your time zone. Or even if you're someone where you like are, you do have like a job where you're working 10 hours a day and you just don't have the time during the week to like book an appointment or my slots don't make sense to you. Always feel free to DM me or email me, okay? And I'll be more than happy to accommodate an appointment and we'll like figure out a good time that works for the best of us. I'm really easygoing. I'm not like a rigid, structured person. I'm not like that at all. I'm a Pisces rising and I have a ninth house stellium. And even though I have a Capricorn moon, I have Saturn and Sag with Uranus. So I'm more like, okay, just go with the flow. Let's just make it happen. Like I'm not a very like, structured, tough person. I'm very soft and very compassionate, very easygoing. I'm very go with the flow and I just want to make things work. So if you ever, if my times don't work out for you, always feel free to reach out to me, okay? Someone said you have many options for your readings. I need to know about my love life and if I'm making the right decisions in my life. Book a transit reading with me, or if it's your first reading, just book a natal chart reading with me. For my natal chart readings, one of the things I do, even like for my natal chart readings, I will generally, in most of my natal chart readings, I will like usually pull up a transit chart and I will tell people things about stuff that's either that they're going through either now or things to come. Okay. Just because I'm not so like rigid, like, oh, it's a natal chart reading. And if you want to look at your transits, then you got to book a I'm not like that at all. Okay. Like in a natal chart reading, if you're going through a relationship issue, I'll be like, oh, do you have that person's birthday? Okay, let's look at your synastry now. Okay. Like I'm not an astrologer that needs a week to look at your chart and figure things out. No, I look at your chart in the moment. I look at the synastry in the moment. I get a flood of downloads. I get a flood of information, and I jump right in and I tell you, this is what's going on. This is what I see for you. This is what I don't see for you. This is a yes. This is a no. Like we just jump in and we do the thing, okay? I don't need to dibble dabble, okay? I don't need to sit with your chart for a week and to figure it out. No, no, no. I'm able to just glance at it and figure it out very, very quickly. Someone said my first natal chart reading, you did a synastry chart with my ex. Yeah, like I'm not rigid in that way. If you're like, oh yeah, I want to take a look at this. Okay, let's do it. Let's look as long as the time allots. It's within our time frame. So I would say for you, you want to look at your love life, then, and if you're dating someone, book a natal chart reading, but have your partner's information on hand because we will take a look at the synastry and I will be able to tell you some things about that relationship. Okay. And it's been tough. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it's been like relationships around this time always get a little tough, they get a little rigid. And the reason is because Capricorn season is it's serious. You know, Capricorn is like new. We have a new moon in Capricorn today. It's like it's serious. It's about our long-term investment, our long-term commitment. It's like no bullshit. It's very cut and dry. You know, are we or are we not? Are we going to make this work or are we not going to make this work? Are you willing to align with my values or not? Are you willing to honor my boundaries or not? It's a very cut and dry thing. You know, Capricorn is not a sign that's very wishy-washy. It's a sign that's very it is or it isn't. We are or we aren't. You know, Capricorn does not do well with the middle ground. And I should know because I have a Capricorn moon, okay? So trust me on that. Someone said, I'm not sure of the exact birth time. Can you help me figure out the time through a natal chart reading? Like, are you talking about for your birth time? You're not sure about your birth time? Or you're not sure about like someone else's birth time? If it's your birth time, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not studied in the realm of chart rectification. I can give you an idea, but ideally I would love for you to have your accurate birth time or at least have an idea of around the time that you were born, and then we can like try to figure it out and make it work, okay? But if you're coming to me for chart rectification, that's not something that I do. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not studied in that. I'm not learned in that, okay? So it would be best if you do have your birth time and if it's a documented birth time as well. That would be the absolute best because that guarantees that you will receive the most accurate reading possible. Okay. Um, but if you want to book, we can try. You know, we can try to figure it out. We can try to figure it out. I can't make any promises though. Okay. And if not, I'll just pull the tarot cards and I'll use the tarot to answer some questions for you. Okay, because astrology is not the only thing that I do. I also do tarot readings, and I actually been doing tarot readings longer than I've been doing astrology. That was my first thing. And you guys, a lot of you remember who's here. Let me see who's here. A lot of y'all remember. I think Jay was here. Lucy was definitely here because that's how I met Lucy, as I gave her a reading on the live with tarot cards. Who else was here back in the days? 3, 4 years ago. There's a few of you that were here some years ago when I was on the live doing tarot readings, and you guys were like, Louis, stop it. Stop spilling all my beans. I didn't want anyone to know. And it's like, well, you wanted to do a public reading on the live, so here we are. Here we are. Getting all the cheese may out. You were here? Okay, you were here as well. Yeah. That's how I started back in the day. I didn't even have like I only think I had at that time like maybe like 3,000 followers, 4,000 followers. I didn't have that many followers at that time, but the lives would be on and popping. And yeah. Someone said, "Can we do two readings at once?" What do you mean by that? What do you mean by two readings at once? You remember the readings in the car? Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. I know it's so crazy because like it's just so crazy. I still there's days where I wake up and I'm like, can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is what Spirit and the Divine guided me to. Oh yeah, tarot natal transit. Yeah, I actually offer a tarot and a natal chart reading, or I offer tarot and astrology reading. So that's actually an option on my readings list. So you can actually book a reading that where we take a look at your astrology and I pull tarot cards. I actually offer a reading that does both of those. So that's on my thing. Oh, my subscriber tarot readings. Yeah, that was yeah. Maybe I'll get back to that. Yeah. I just yeah, yeah, no, I've just been working on like I don't know, my loves. I don't know. I gotta okay, so for me, right? It's so funny. Like I'm just gonna share this with you guys. I'm gonna get a little personal here and then we're gonna wrap up. This new moon is on my moon and I need to move. I cannot be here no more. I cannot be in Portland, Oregon no more. I'm like, I'm done. So I'm thinking about doing is moving back home and living with my family for a few months before I transition and like move to the next place. I really want to move to Bali. I really, 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 really want to move to Bali. I want to get out of, I really, really want to get out of the States, but I really want to be in a place that caters to my spiritual growth, my spiritual development, and to where like I feel the presence of God and spirit around me. I really need that. I really feel that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and live in LA as I transition. So I'm gonna move back to LA. I think I'm gonna live. I don't know about living with my parents. I don't know. I want to get my own place, but then I don't want to commit to a place for a year. I don't want to do a 1 year lease. So I was thinking about moving back to LA, being with my parents for like 3 months, 6 months, whatever, as I transition and get everything ready to go to Bali. Because then by summertime, I'm like moving to Bali. Like that's my goal. That's like what I'm trying to do. So, but I've been here back in Portland for like 3 days, and already I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I can't be here no more. I can't be in the like. I don't even want to go out. It's like if I don't even want to go outside here because it's cold. I'm not used to the cold. The cold is not good for me. Like having to put like, a scarf on and a beanie on and like two jackets and like sweat. Like it's like is not for me. This weather, this is not for me. Okay, it's not for me. Let me see what someone asked. Hold on. Do you offer relocation chart readings? If a person has relocated to a foreign country for more than a decade, when you read transitions for that person, will you use a relocation chart? No, I still use a natal chart. Yeah, I'll still use a natal chart. So, um, modern astrology, there's a lot of modern astrologers will use a relocation chart for a solar return. So they'll use wherever the person celebrated their birthday for their solar return chart, or they'll use where the person's been living if they moved. But because my astrology background is in Hellenistic astrology. It's in ancient astrology, um, European, Mesopotamian, and also Vedic Hindu astrology, which I really want to go to India and learn. I want to like work with the Vedic astrologer and I want to be his like student and I want to do all that. And so that's one of my big goals. Um, I don't use the relocation. I always use your place of birth for your chart. Always, 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 even with solar return charts. Only because you can use that chart for additional information. You can use the relocation. You can. That's a possible. You could get information from that. But my experience has been by using your natal or by using your where you grew up, like where you were born, by using just the regular chart as a foundation, it tends to be way more like consistently accurate, where the relocation chart could be a little inaccurate. It also depends on what you're using it for. It also depends on what you're using it for. But we have like a very karmic, like our personal astrology is very karmically attached to our place of birth. It's very, very karmically attached to our place of birth. Okay. Um, but there are astrologers who do relocation charts. I'm not one of them. And there are astrologers who do, and if that works for them, and if they get really accurate information with that, then yes, I'm all for it. But I'm not schooled in that, so that's not what I learned. So I don't do that. Let me get a chip really quick. I'm a little hungry. I'm gonna have to get dinner soon. Okay, my loves. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the week ahead. Astrology. Tomorrow's Monday. So we're gonna talk about the astrology of the week ahead tomorrow morning. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 o'clock. 9 a.m. Bright and early. 12 p.m. Eastern. Okay? I'm gonna get some food now. 'Cause I'm hungry. In my What is Gilbert doing? He's laying on like what are you doing over there? He's like laying on a you guys want to see him real quick? Look at him. He's like laying on a paper towel. You guys see him over there? Down there? Can you guys see him? He's right there. He's like laying on a paper towel over there. No idea what he's doing. Yeah, someone said I need sun. So the biggest lesson I've learned in moving to Portland is instead of moving closer to the North Pole or the South Pole, I need to live as close to the equator as possible. That's one of the biggest things I've learned. My energetic disposition and like who I am as a person, I am an equator person. I'm a sun person, okay? I'm a sandals, shorts, no shirt, tan skin, by the beach person. That's who I am. And I really need to embrace this and like lean into this and accept that this is the person that I am. Okay, because I had to find out, I had to come to Portland to find out who I wasn't. And I'm not a Portlander. I'm not a cold weather person. I'm not a North Pole person. I don't even like Christmas. Okay. So I need to be living somewhere where it's like eternal summer. Okay. I had to get as close to the equator as possible. That's what, as close to the sun as possible. Okay. That's what I've learned in my last 3 years here in Portland is that Portland's not for me. And but it is for some people. There are some people that really love it here and they thrive here. And I love that for them, but not for me. Okay. You live and you learn. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, bright and early, 9 in the morning. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Oh, one more thing I wanted to share for those of you that are here. Um, I don't even know why I didn't mention this. Do some manifestation work or manifestation ritual. Tonight, you could do it tomorrow, in the next like 3 days, with this new moon in Capricorn, okay? Because this new moon has a really strong manifestation power and it really wants to help us like manifest the dream or the vision or wants to help us bring our like goals and our dreams into like physical reality and into like materializing them. But with that being said, the quickest way to manifest things is to get every aspect of your life in alignment with that goal or that vision or that dream. So this is like your daily habits, your behaviors, your thoughts, your emotions, your physical actions, like what you're doing, like every day. They all need to be geared towards that goal, that dream, that vision. Once you can align all of those things with that particular goal or vision, it will manifest so much quicker, so much faster, and it will manifest much stronger. But you have to get all the elements of your life like working together, working in unison, and like geared in that like energetic direction, okay? Um, yeah. So, and you also need to like not be afraid or not doubt and stuff like that. Um, do not doubt and do not be afraid of your own success and your own potential and stuff like this. We know what's so interesting. A lot of people are like, they're actually afraid of success. As weird as it sounds, a lot of people are afraid of the responsibility that comes with success, with being wealthy, with being a business owner, with being financially independent, with being a mom, right? Like, it's like we want these things. We want these greater things, but then we're also afraid of like getting those things and we doubt our ability to sustain or carry those things or we doubt our ability to like achieve those things and then we're afraid of the responsibility that comes with those greater things, right? And so it's really important to dispel any of our fears that we have around abundance or around goals or dreams, or any hesitations that we have around those things, because that's literally how we block ourselves. That's literally how we self-sabotage, you know? Don't stand in your own way, all right? Don't be afraid of success and stuff like this. Don't be afraid of failure as well. No fear. We gotta live in a way that's very, very fearless. And Saturn is always going to be scaring us in some type of way. We're always going to be afraid of something, but the more that we overcome our fears, the more that we're able to accomplish. And most of our fears, many of our fears, the vast majority of our fears are illusionary. They're not even real. They're just totally made up and they're in our imagination. Like the boogeyman under our bed, right? Like the scary thing that's hiding in our closet. Most of it's not even real. It's not even real. It's just a figment of our imagination. And it's our, the investment of energy, of our psychic energy, of our emotional energy into the thing that makes it more scary, that makes it more real, but it's actually not real. It's totally just a projection. It's a figment of your imagination, a negative projection, a negative creation, a fear-based creation of the imagination, right? It's not even real. So let go of that illusionary bullshit. Let go of those fears that aren't even real. Let go of the things that you're scared of that aren't even haven't even come to pass or will never come to pass. What are we afraid of? There's nothing to be afraid of. We're all going to meet our maker one day. We're all going to die one day. I'm going to leave you guys with the Bible scripture. Mark 11:23. Because you guys know I love me some Jesus. You good. You guys know I love me some Jesus. Okay, I love me some Jesus. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this scripture, okay? This is from Mark 11:23. Truly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. It will be done for him. Truly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt it in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. So doubt, and Jesus says this multiple times. This is not the only quote. There's another one, where he says that anyone who doubts, it will not come to pass. Okay, he says it in another scripture. I was looking for it, but I can't find it. So, um, because doubt is a negative energy, and it's an energy of self-sabotage, and it blocks us from manifestation, right? A big part of manifestation is faith. It's a necessary element for manifesting. You got to believe it to receive it, to actualize it, to become it, to be it. You got to believe it to achieve it. Okay, faith, belief is a necessary ingredient of manifestation. If you don't believe it's possible for yourself, don't even bother. Don't even work on that. Start with that first. Work on the faith piece. Work on the belief piece first, okay? And then you can start doing all the other stuff. Okay? Because if you don't have a foundation of faith, which is something I always talk about as a Pisces rising, I'm always talking about my foundation of faith. Okay? If you don't have that, good luck manifesting. Good luck reshaping your reality so that this reality can kind of bend to your will. You got to believe it. If you have no faith, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe all is possible, if you don't believe in miracles, if you don't believe in magic, if you don't believe in astrology, if you don't believe in spirits, if you don't believe in the unknown, if you don't believe in the unseen, if you don't believe in, the tarot and all that, good luck. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But a big part of it is faith. A big part of it is faith. And that's also for divination work. If for those of you that want to get into being a practicing astrologer, practicing tarot reader, if you want to get into energy healing, any kind of magic, any kind of spell work, if you want to get into that, your power comes from your faith in your belief that you can do these things, right? Like, if you want to be a psychic or, be an intuitive person, you got to believe it. You got to believe that you're a psychic and that you're an intuitive and that you're able to like do these things and see these things and predict these things for people. If you don't believe it, what are you doing? You're like pretty much shooting yourself in the foot. You're like 10 steps behind the start line. You know what I mean? Like you got to believe it, you know? And that's one of the things with me is like I really believe in the astrology. I really believe in the magic of tarot and divination. I really believe in the occult sciences, and I believe in what the gurus and what the wise masters have said, and I believe in the planets and these things. And it's my faith in those things that allows the truth of them to be channeled through me, as an oracle, where I'm able to kind of like deliver the information and the wisdom and the knowledge from the planets, from spirit, from the divine. It's just I'm just an oracle. I'm just a channel, right? I don't take on like I really don't take ownership of a lot of like my magic and a lot of like the cool stuff that I've got to experience or that I've got to share with people through astrology and tarot. Like I really it's like not about me at all. Like I'm just the vessel for the magic. I'm just a translator for the planets, that's all I am. And so with that being said, work on your faith. Okay. Work on believing things. Work on believing in yourself and believing in others and believing in the magic and believing that all is possible and believing in miracles. If you want to experience a miracle, you got to believe in it, okay? Because miracles happen, and miracles are a Pisces thing, right? 12th house thing, actually. So it's really cool when we experience magical, miraculous things. It's very beautiful, and miracles are also given to us as an experience or as an idea, as a concept to reaffirm our faith. That's why do you think Jesus was doing all the miracles, my loves? He was doing all the miracles to help people believe. Tell me to believe. He's like, I believe I can do these things, so I do them. He's like, here, let me do this miracle. Let me do this miracle. Let me do this miracle. Is this helping you guys believe? Is this helping reaffirm your faith? Right? Like, for a lot of people, it wasn't because even when you read the Bible, they were still doubting him. The man was turning water into wine, right? He was multiplying fish and he was multiplying bread and he was doing all these magical things. And there were still people that were doubting him. Still people that were doubting, right? That's because the power of doubt is so much stronger than the power of faith. The majority of people live very doubtful, pessimistic lives. Don't be one of those people, okay? Wide is the gate, my loves. Wide is the gate that leads to destruction, but narrow is the path that leads to salvation. So, be one of take the narrow road, my loves. Go through the back door, okay? I love you all so much. Have a beautiful night. It's time for me to go get some din din. Okay. Thank you guys for spending time with me today. Everybody that donated, I appreciate you all so much. This is gonna get posted on YouTube as well in a few hours. Okay. I love you all. I'll see you guys so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, actually, 9 a.m. Bright and early. I'll see you guys here for the Weekend Astro. Okay. All right. Bye.